Listen up, brewing noobs. Stop wasting weeks of your life. If you're still waiting a month for your lagers to ferment in a freezing cold fridge, you're living in the Stone Ages. Pressure fermentation is the ultimate brewing cheat code. Traditional brewing is dead. It's not dead, it just takes a little longer. But today we're looking at the pros and cons of pressure fermentation, so you don't actually turn your yeast into a sad, stressed out mess. So let's actually look at whether it's worth it or not. Is it worth the hype? Well, today we're going to break down the good, the bad, and the yeasty. Traditional brewing is a prison. If you aren't brewing under pressure, raw, unadulterated pressure, you're basically brewing yeast soup in a bucket of defeat. Trap the gas, crush those esters, and rule the world. Or just trap the gas so you don't stress out your yeast and make your beer taste like banana sunscreen. Pressure suppresses those off flavors so you can brew clean, lager-like beers without your beer screaming for mercy. But sure, a bucket of defeat works too. Plastic buckets, they're for cowards. If your fermenter can't survive a bomb blast or artillery strike, then you aren't a brewer, you're just a chemist with a hobby. Stainless steel is an impenetrable beer fortress that will outlive your grandchildren. Well, mostly it's so your bucket doesn't explode like a pipe bomb in your spare closet. It's also completely lightproof, so it won't skunk your hops either. But please don't put a pipe bomb in your fermenter, they're not cheap. Temperature control is for the weak. With this bad boy, I can brew under pressure, clean, crisp lagers at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. In the summer, no AC. My yeast survives the fires of boredom. It actually just lets you brew lagers at room temperatures without making them taste like paint thinner. You can brew a clean, crisp lager at 70 degrees Fahrenheit or higher without buying a dedicated fermentation fridge. It's cool science, but maybe don't put it in an actual fire. Transferring to another keg to serve? That's ancient weakness. Cut out that middleman. Ferment, carbonate, drink directly from the vessel. Straight from the grain to the brain. You know, the guy's got a point. Fermenting and serving from one vessel does save a ton of time, and you don't have to clean a different fermenter. You can always do a closed loop transfer if you want to a different keg, but this is a keg, so it saves you that time too. So choose your own adventure. I'm not stopping you. Hit subscribe now, or your fermenter will explode. It won't explode. It has a pressure relief valve. But yes, hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. Then we're gonna walk through the 6.5 gallon Clawhammer Keg fermenter and talk about it all. So hit that subscribe, grab yourself a beer, and we're gonna get after it. Cheers. All right, I know you guys all hit that subscribe button because you're awesome, and you hit that like button because it helps out the channel a lot. But if you really, really want to be awesome, hit that join button below and become a channel member. Members enjoy awesome perks like some exclusive recipes, my brew day sheets to help you along the way and take some notes, and you get to watch my videos early before anybody else. So hit that join button and become awesome. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about Clawhammer's Super Keg, or their keg fermenting vessel. It ferments, it serves from one vessel, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know about this really quickly because it's really not going to be about this beer, but I'm going to be brewing up a German Pilsner. I'm going to go through that recipe really quickly, but I'll link another video to where I brewed that exact beer down in the video description. So I'm going to be brewing up a German Pilsner, very, very simple recipe. I'm making just a slight adjustment based on something that I heard at HomebrewCon this year, talking about how lighter grains like Pilsner and two-row, they have a little bit more proteins because of the climate that's getting warmer, right? You're gonna get a little bit more malty flavors from those grains that wouldn't have normally done that in the past. So to offset that, they actually suggest putting a small amount of flaked rice or flaked corn or some other ingredient in there. You can also do dextrose in order to add that amount of fermentable sugar, but not add any proteins so you don't get that more malty flavor. So if you want a clean, crisp, light lager, I would suggest doing that in your Pilsners for about a half pound up to a pound. For this one, we're going to be using 8.25 pounds of Pilsner malt, a half pound of Carapils, which will help get that head retention, and then we're going to be doing a half pound of the flaked rice. We're going to be mashing at 148 for 60 minutes. For hops, we're doing Pearl, a half an ounce at 60 minutes for bittering. We're going to do an ounce of Hallertau Middle Fruit at 10 minutes, along with an ounce and a half of Tettnanger, also at 10 minutes, to give it that little hoppy, good flavor that you want from a Pilsner, but not very much. These are low alpha acid hops. And at the end, we're going to be pitching in Fermentus 3470 yeast. It's a great yeast for doing what we're doing today, which is pressure fermentation. This yeast is really versatile. It allows even brewing at ale temperatures without having a lot of off flavors. So if you're doing something like pressure fermentation, 3470 is definitely a go-to. You can also use a Kveik yeast, which is also something that likes warmer temperatures and would not put any off flavors. All right, so let's talk about this 6.5 gallon keg fermenter from ClawhammerSupply. They were able to send this to me for me to test out and show you guys the pros and cons of pressure fermentation. And so one thing I really like about this is they've really thought about the safety of this thing. It's going to be under pressure, right? They want you to be able to pressure ferment in this, but there's a lot of moving parts up at the top that could blow off, that could hurt somebody. And so they've put a lot of time into making safety kind of #1 priority for this one. One thing you'll notice right off the bat is this cable that's connected to this kind of weird looking key that's also attached to a pressure relief valve. That key opens 2 of the tri-clamps that are here, one for the smaller opening and one for the larger opening that gets into the keg itself. And that's on purpose because they don't want you to unscrew these things by hand and then the vessel be under pressure and those lids fly off, hit somebody, right? And so in order to take this off, you actually have to take off the pressure relief valve first and then use that key to open this. That makes sure that there's no pressure in this before you try to take off any of the lids or components. That's super smart and good thinking by Clawhammer. So let's talk about the other components. It has posts for ball lock kegs like every other ball lock keg, in and out for gas and for serving, correct? It also has a thermal well, so you can actually put a temperature probe down in here. If you're going to be doing that under pressure or something like that, it probably doesn't matter. But if you want to know if you're going to put this in a refrigerator or something like that, and you want to have a thermal well down there, you can definitely do that. There's another ball lock connection here at the top, which is really awesome because you can use that for a bunch of different things, including what we're going to be using it for is a Spunding Valve. That's another optional thing that you can purchase. I have one right here. It has a ball lock connection right here. It has the pressure gauge in the middle, and then it has pressure relief valve to be able to adjust the amount of pressure that you want in your fermenter. We're going to be setting this for about 10 to 12 psi. 15 should be the max you want to pressure ferment at. So I'm going to shoot for about 10. If we need to turn it up later, we can. But that should get us most of the way into carbonating our beer towards the end of this. Also, with natural carbonation that helps in the beer. That's one of the pros of pressure fermentation. If you weren't doing pressure fermentation and you did want to put this thing into a fermentation chamber, you can do that too. And you can actually put a blow-off tube off of the top. One of the things that I purchased to help me do that is this little elbow connection that's going to be on the top of this smaller 2-inch tri-clamp. I think it's a 2-inch. And that will actually hook on in place of this other cap like this. And it will allow for a tube to be connected, which will go into star sand, just like you would in a normal blow-off tube situation from any type of fermenter. So this is an optional piece. Again, I'll have all of this stuff, all the equipment, all the extras in the video description below with links so you guys don't have to search around for them. If you do want to also serve from this keg, which you can do as well, you'll need to do one of 2 things. You can either take out this dip tube, you can saw off a little portion off of the bottom, or you can do what I did and buy a floating dip tube like this one. You can replace the floating dip tube in the out portion, and then what happens is this thing floats on the top of your beer and won't get down to the tube until you are finished with the beer. So we put that in right away as part of putting our beer in here, just so it is done and ready to go. We never have to open up this vessel ever again. And that's part of another pro of pressure fermentation and serving from the same vessel is the fact that you won't have any oxygen in this beer because it will be closed the entire time. Now, when you unpack this thing, you're gonna have a couple of sheets of directions and some other things that will help you along the way. It's gonna give you a parts list. It's gonna talk about the different type of gaskets and the sizes. Number one, that's 1.5. I thought it was 2, it's 1.5 on the top. And it's gonna talk to you about initial cleaning, which you're gonna need to do with a powder brew wash to help get all those oils and everything that's off from the manufacturer. You're also gonna need to do some initial lubrication, which doesn't come with this keg, so you'll need to pick up some of this. This is the Petrogel lubricant. I'll have a link in the video description below. They recommend lightly lubricating all thread fittings that may potentially come into contact with the liquid with that lubricant. It also gives you a couple of examples of how to set this thing up, including some picture diagrams of how those poppets and everything's fit in there. And then it talks about pressure fermentation and making sure that you're using either that blow-off tube or a spunding valve in order to release the pressure, because this is only rated for so much pressure, and they want to make sure that you're not going to hurt yourself by doing something incorrectly. The kegs themselves are rated for a maximum pressure of 40 psi, so you can pressure ferment in this thing. You can force carbonate this thing at 30 to 40 psi like you normally would for any other keg that you use. But with that, I'm gonna get this thing all cleaned up. I'm gonna be installing my floating dip tube on the inside of that, and we're gonna get ready to have this German lager put inside of here and fermented under pressure. All right, we got everything in here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this last tri-clamp done and closed. Make sure all of your fittings are good and snug. Make sure that you're not going to be leaking out anywhere else where you think you're getting pressure and it's actually leaking through one of the poppets or something else. Make sure that you've got everything tightened down, and you can always double check it by spraying a little bit of star sand on it. It will kind of bubble up on those connections. We're going to put the pressure relief valve back in. In a little bit, I'm gonna put my yeast in here. It's not quite cool enough. I'm gonna go throw it in that other room. It is very close, but I'm just gonna give it a little bit. Then I'm gonna take it, and before I pitch this yeast in there, I'm gonna shake it like it owes me some money, okay? You wanna get a lot of that oxygen put back into that beer before you put the yeast in there, help it grate along. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our spunding valve here, and we're gonna put it on the in post, right? That's the gas post. And we're gonna put that on there, just like this. We want our spunding valve on here from the get-go. We don't want to wait till it builds up pressure, then put it on. We want to put the pressure rate on it right away, make sure that that is staying solid. So that's super, super important. We're gonna go ahead and just set this off into a side bedroom. We're not doing temperature control with this one at all. The pressure itself will do the work of suppressing some of those off flavors. So once this is done fermenting, we will be back. I'll show you how to get this thing set up and serving out of it in about a week, maybe 2. All right, guys, it's been about 3 weeks since we brewed this beer, and we're going to test it a little earlier than I normally would. I normally would wait about 6 weeks in order to test a beer that I would consider a lager. We're testing it a little bit early to see if, can we do a lager in 3 weeks under pressure? And also, does it disguise any off flavors, or can I taste any now? And if I do, will I taste it in 6 weeks? I had this beer at room temperature, believe it or not, for the first 2 weeks of those 3 weeks. I put this in the kegerator a little over a week ago, about 9 days ago or so. And so it's been sitting for the most part in warm room temperature, which is over 70 degrees almost the entire time. I have not tasted this beer whatsoever. I don't know really what to expect. We're going to taste it together after you guys grab yourself a beer. I'm going to do the same thing because I don't even have a glass, and we're going to get after it. All right, here she is. Surprisingly pretty clean for only a couple of weeks in there. It's got a little bit of cloudiness. It is a little warm in my garage. So, you know, I couldn't quite read a book through it, but I can definitely see through it. And so I'm not super impressed with the head retention right now, but we're really not judging the character of the beer just yet. I am judging it based on whether I perceive any off flavors. The entire Clawhammer keg is inside of my kegerator. It has the yeast cake in there. It is everything. It's just got that floating dip tube, so we're pulling beer off the top. We haven't done anything else to this. put it on regular pressure, and served it a week later. So here we are, 3 weeks later. Let's see if we can smell or taste any off flavors, anything that would be alarming for a German Pilsner. Surprisingly, it smells like beer. I don't perceive anything that I would consider an off flavor aroma. It smells like I'm smelling a Pilsner so far. So far, so good. Wow. That's actually really crisp and clean. And I really don't have a lot of complaints at all about it for only being 3 weeks too. I think this still needs some time to condition just because it's a lager, right? But man, I could drink this right now. There's no off flavors whatsoever. And remember, we pitched this yeast starting at 78 degrees. 78, room temperature. This thing started cooking through the yeast, by the way. It was done fermenting in like, I don't know, 36 hours, maybe 48 hours. It was flying through. That W3470 did the job perfectly. I think it is a little bit undercarbed. I think I do need to pump up my own system here. Actually, let me double check. Oh, that might be the culprit right there, sitting at just under 10 PSI. We need to give that a little tiny crank up. Not sure how that got loosened down, but I like mine right between 10 and 12, so about 11 PSI. Well, that explains it. The pressure was on in the thing, but my pressure was a little low at my regulator, so I can see why it's a little bit less carb than I would have wanted it. But either way, this for 3 weeks out is a great beer. I'd be willing to bet that this was a great beer at 2 weeks. I think it needs about a week or so more in there to kind of really round out, maybe carb up a little bit. And maybe it's just that's what I'm missing is just a little bit of that carbonation level. And maybe this would be a perfectly good Pilsner in 3 weeks. Yeah, but again, I don't taste any off flavors whatsoever. It's clean, it's crisp. I mean, there's really not much more I can say about it. Pressure fermentation, it wins the day. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is that other guy, he was right. You need to go get yourself one of these pressure fermentation kegs from Clawhammer and do this yourself. You no longer are beer. You are beer warrior. You will ferment under pressure, serve from the vessel, and drink like a champion. Cheers. What he said. Hey, thanks for watching my video. You're awesome. You want to be even more awesome? Hit that join button and become a member. You'll get exclusive members-only recipes and other perks like Brew Day sheets, and watch my videos early as they drop before anyone else. So hit that join button below, become a member, and be awesome.